Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm Will Dragon and this is the continuation of our playthrough of All Quiet in the Trenches. Now we are coming up to the first home leave, not the end of the current game. We are coming up to the first home leave. We have just come back from battle. And so as you can see, got tired removed, good recovery added. Yep, he is in the field hospital. Wellinger, he is extremely happy about life right now though. But he is in the field hospital. Somewhat compassionate removed from Fleckner. That's unfortunate. Good cover removed and grenade range removed, of course, because we've left battle. Light stress, fervor, and high stress. Again, we've left battle. Good recovery added, changed to double rations for 5 turns, and changed to a hospital overburdened. Now, let's see if we've gained some skills. We did, at the end of the last episode, gain a couple of skills. I think Ackerman was the one that gained a skill. In fact, no, there were 2. It was Ackerman and someone else. I do apologize. It's been over a week since I've recorded. You have improved. I feel like I've learned something new after all. Dexterous? Did we just... Oh, Swift! Ooh, I love that. I've only got 1 Swift character, and that's Wellinger. So to have a second is amazing. Bram. Now there's also this miserable weather. If the whole world wasn't conspiring against me. I feel like Fram learned something last time. I feel like it was Fram and Ackerman. But we do have bad weather. We also weirdly had when we came back last time. I'm pretty sure we had we're out of firewood, but it's not a cold snap. Didn't realize that you have actually improved. I feel like I learned something after all. Eyes? No, trained in shooting. Yeah, so he is now trained in shooting and good at spotting things. So, who knows? Yeah, we could have some... But most of our people are trained in shooting, which is, you know, makes sense and it's makes useful. They've been in a few battles now. They've been in a few trench phases, you know. They've been firing their rifles for, what, a good year that we have been here. So, you know, that pretty much makes sense. But we're getting a few things done. Let's have a look. Lieutenant. Eventually have a hard time stomaching this defeat, but that's no reason to rest on our laurels. Of course, we did just win our battle. Unit is tasked with guard duty. Wonderful day to you, Herr Underoffizier. For help, ask for a favor. Next shipment, I believe it's a while. Well, at least a month, yes. I think we've just received a shipment before the last battle. Hence why we're up to 5 turns. And then the field hospital. There's so many of them and more coming, but we're doing everything in our power to save Wellinger. So, hang on, let's remind myself of the condition of my people. Pretty good, actually. Whoops. Sorry. Way too many games. I keep pressing wrong buttons. Current workload. I am going to help out. Offer assistance. You men would be of great help, as many as you can spare. Now, in a specific domain, that I assume will be the skill of first aid. So I am going to attempt to gain some brownie points in first aid. I don't think I'll be learning a skill anytime soon, but we'll see what we can do. Now, also, before I do continue, I would also like to say that, yeah, so recently as well, they released a information update, a sneaky beak look at what is to come in the next patch, and they were basically focusing on after battle actions and some of the other things that you are going to be able to do in battle in terms of saving soldiers and the such, finding other things other than ammo, etc., which will influence both the hospital, more stuff into the hospital, because I believe it is the hospital update that is coming next, and more stuff as well to do with the logistics officer, Hennig. So all I can say is I loved the new bit of information that's come out about All Quiet in the Trenches. If you haven't seen it, pop over to Steam. That's where they put their updates. Of course, you can also get a link through their own Discord. But yeah, I'm very much enjoying the stuff that they are giving us a sneak peek of what's coming out next. Let's go back to the gameplay now that I've given that little plug, because I really did just want to say that someone mentioned in the comments from one of the last videos how it would be good to be able to do more stuff after battle, and that is actually one of the things they have added for you to be able to kind of see off the French, finish seeing off the French, but also have a few turns to do things, you know, like grab prisoners, patch up your soldiers, patch up other soldiers, do a bit of looting. There's also hints about more stuff you can loot, maybe some food and drink, which is going to be huge for the last third of gameplay that they will release on full release, because you know, food and stuff is going to become pretty dire in the last third of the war for the Germans. So there is definitely going to be that. It is depressing, so we don't want anyone that's tired of war. So definitely not Fleckner. So Fleckner can go on a patrol. Fleckner was friends with Wellinger. You're optimistic. You're optimistic. You're just average, and you're just average. Okay, so our 2 optimistic guys can go help in the field hospital. That makes sense because... it just makes sense, really. They might lose a bit of compassionate, which I'm hoping they don't. They're also not trained in first aid, so they can get some experience in that field. So yeah, and hopefully we'll also then drop down this hospital overburden status, which might help things. Obviously, having things like trusting for the nurse at the moment, not really too much of a point to it. Same kind of with the field intendant, but they will, of course, more and more stuff, as I've even just mentioned, is being added, so it will have more of an effect going forward. Of course, what's going to actually come out of the field hospital, we will see. But I am expecting great things because the developers of this game, they very much get a thumbs up from me. Wellinger is back. He's only lightly wounded. Lotz is no longer optimistic. There was always a chance of that happening. Ackerman, I want to call him Ackner, but he's not. He's Fleckner and Ackerman. He is now somewhat compassionate. We are down to a good mood. We are well rested. Rainy has been removed. Hang on, we've got up to a good mood. Is optimistic that bad? I mean, we've got rid of bad weather. No longer relieved. That's obviously actually going to be quite a big drop. Bacon added. Somewhat compassionate. They didn't lose their compassionate status though, so I am happy with that. Rainy removed. Change to hospital full. Change to double rations. I'll never forget what I saw. The corpses, the blood, the bucket full of amputated limbs. The comrade I was supposed to fixate. He didn't have a face anymore. I don't know what was worse. The desperate gurgling that was his screams of pain, or the squelch and rasping sounds of the bone saw. Yeah, that's gonna shake it and nauseate it. That's fair. It's a pretty harrowing job, you know? Latrine is filled to the brim. Okay, what else have we got? Let's go to headquarters. Whoa, he got a bit close to the lieutenant there. That was daring. That was daring from that guy. Surprised he's not dead. Told you there'd be more work for you before you went home. Your group is assigned to guard duty. These villagers are suspect. I keep hearing stories of attacks by Frank's terrors on our comrades along the front. Oh, yep, and with the new information released, if you also help save French soldiers, that could affect your reputation with Madame Laroche. So there's that one as well. So yeah, there's tidbits being added in for everything, and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. Someone wants to talk to me still. You've been released from the field hospital. Okay. We want some compassionate people. Con and Fleckner, go spread some love. Lot, you've only just lost optimistic. Oh, and of course, Fleckner. I'm also looking forward to, so if we can get nice, obviously food I assume would spread out to the food pile, but if you can find things like wine, etc., I assume, you know, that's going to help you with giving gifts, because you can get wine off the quartermaster, but obviously as you get further in, it costs more. It costs prestige to begin with, to get it off him, these kind of things. So, you know, finding it as a nice little reward in the trenches. Now, it'll probably be a low chance, but still. And of course, it's probably more likely in the French trenches than your own. But, you know, should be pretty good, basically. Right, let's... Fleckner. Grant a reward. You can have bigger rations. Also... Ooh, wow, we got a nice little grouping here. This is not quite Team Lot. Bigger rations. So I'm just going to give it to those two. Shaken removed, grateful added. Larger rations added, lighter rations added. Change to double rations for 3 turns because I've just given bigger rations again. I'm hoping I can basically, yes, make him a little bit happy again. Make him, maybe push him a bit more towards optimistic. Also then, you know, obviously this is the whole big thing of let's get Fleckner, who is not so tired of war. Pray that we make it to home leave in one piece. Guard duty. This is a tiring duty. Fram is well rested. Lots is part of Team Fram. And so latrine fatigue is Ackerman. And that means that, yes, Wellinger gets to rest. Now, of course, I could get Wellinger helping everybody, which helps just reduce things a little bit. But honestly, I'm happy. You know, nobody's overly tired, etc., that kind of thing. So I don't think I need to get the workhorse out. So I will let him rest for a turn. Lots came hurrying toward me, clearly upset with a blood-stained uniform. Underofficer, have you seen... What? Lots? Have you seen the sorry state of the field hospital, he asked, visibly aghast. I just had to carry one of the wounded who couldn't make it on his own to the field hospital. The injured are everywhere and the beds are overflowing already. The nurse just told me to drop him off wherever, that they had no time to tend to him anyhow. I'd known with the intense fighting of the last few days that a lot of injured were passing through our camp, but to think that the state of the field hospital had already gotten so bad, is there nothing to be done? The soldier pleaded with me. I will look into it. The last thing the people at the field hospital need right now is more chaos and disorganized helpers getting in their way. Lots nodded and began nervously walking up and down the camp. I should probably talk to Elizabeth as soon to see if we help. Well, I suppose why somewhat tolerant. He's somewhat compassionate. I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, I just suppose so. I did not expect that of Lots, if I'm honest. Belonging added, nauseated added. Yep, that's fair shouts. Tired removed, while rested added. I like that. Hospital's back up to being overburdened. Changed to double rations for 2 turns. Large rations removed, belonging removed. Help you. Next shipment. It'll be a few more weeks. Alright, we might have to finally go down to single rations. Unit is tasked with guard duty. I'm going to keep my exceptional prestige as it is. We've only got 1 job. That's good. Field kitchen. Field cook Zelensky. Rations. Standardize. Yes, that'll give us up to 4 turns. We had double rations for a long time. I mean, we were keeping these boys in good condition, you know? Home leave in a single turn, so we do get to hit home leave next turn. Don't have a lot of time. Current workload, offer assistance, accept. 1D flare. What, Lots? Lots no longer optimistic. Oh, he lost optimistic. I thought Con lost optimistic. But anyway, so he's going to be chucked in. He is somewhat compassionate. We can definitely get rid of that stat. You know what, I am... Going to chuck in Khan. Guard duty. I'm going to send the 2 first aiders. And Wellinger, I'm going to keep... Do you know what? No, let's activate Wellinger. Let's activate the workhorse. Wellinger. We have to help. Help your comrades. All right. The other soldiers relax a bit more, but he gets a bit of exhaustion. Let us release the workhorse. And so obviously we should hit home leave next turn. Hopefully we get a nice bit of experience from this. We get a start spreading a bit of first aid talent as well, so we're not just kind of hitting Fleckner and Fram with that. More people that have first aid, the better. Because you know we're going to get that one mission where Fram and Fleckner are going to be the first 2 to get injured. And we will panic, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody will run around like crazy people. And I'll be doing most of the screaming. That's it next turn. And let's go on home leave. Wellinger is no longer injured. Oh, look at that down. All the way down to partially occupied. Dejected removed. Relieved removed, admittedly. Down to 3 turns worth of rations. And nobody wants my attention. It's time to go on home leave. Okay, well, that is the first milestone reached, ladies and gentlemen. We have made home leave number 1. Now, obviously, we have to attempt to make home leave number 2, and everything will get worse as we go forward. So, like I said, this is the first milestone. Home leave number 2 is the second milestone, currently the end of the game, and then, of course, there will be the end of the war upon full release. So, let's see what we've got. The day my men and I had been looking forward to for weeks had finally arrived. Our home leave began today. The whole morning was filled with hustle and bustle until we finally reached our train amidst much fanfare. Now I was sitting here, looking out of the window and could hardly believe it. We were really going home. Everything seemed so unreal to me. The passing landscape with those pretty little villages, the clear sky with scattered clouds, and the warmth of the sun on my face. It all seemed so removed from our past experiences, as if it had just been a bad dream. And yet, none of my men had fallen, but death and suffering had inevitably been our ever-present companions. How many more would have to give their lives in this war? How many of my people, and how many other soldiers on both sides of the trenches? The war was not yet over, and who knew how much longer it might still go on. Now we had a few weeks of rest, but what would it be like to have to go back to the front afterwards? Saddled with everything we now knew about the war, everything we had seen and experienced, all the horror, the misery, the suffering. I gave a heavy sigh and closed my eyes. Those were thoughts for another day. Now was a time for home, family, and living life while it lasted. So you have it, as I said, that is the first home leave reached. We did not lose a soldier. That was a key part of the journal. We have not lost a soldier yet. We now have to make it to the second home leave. Let's see if we can get there. Let's fast forward by a month, I believe. 16th of March to... It slowly speeds up. The 14th of April, just shy of a month. I gave a heavy sigh and closed my... no, wrong one. A month had passed since we had left the front for our home leave. In the past few weeks, I had been eyed like a fairground attraction back home. Everyone in the village had wanted to shake my hand. People kept calling me comrade, as if all of them had been at the front with me. As much as I had longed for home, everything had seemed so wrong to me. How was it that barely a year ago I had fitted so effortlessly into this life? The quiet landscape with the small, steadily gushing stream, little cottages, and the regular, chatty bustle in the streets on sunny days. It had been so natural for me to be part of the small concerns and joys of this everyday life. And how suddenly everything became so dreadfully real with all the questions people were asking. Everyone wanted to hear as many stories from the front as possible. The more gruesome, the better. They wanted to hear about heroic deeds and how brave we were and whether we would make it to Paris soon. And why this ghastly positional warfare had been going on for so long. My answers sounded hollow to my own ears. Everything I said would have made the time in the field more of an irrefutable truth and torn bloody holes into this cozy home atmosphere. So I remained silent and a stranger. What would it be like once the war was over? I was almost glad to return to the front. To my men and the daily routine that had become so strangely familiar to me. Even from a distance, I recognized my men by the way they walked when they boarded the train. And yet the home leave had confronted me with so many things that I had previously pushed aside. And suddenly it all seemed terribly pointless. Back at our camp, I tried in vain to shake off the impressions from home in order to somehow move on. And so we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Oh dear lord, so much stuff. Resentful removed, nauseated removed, that makes sense. Shaken removed and dejected removed. Everyone is in an excellent mood. I would have expected them to come back in a better mood. Standard rations for 5 turns. I guess we got given rations upon returning. Hospital is no longer occupied at all. Well rested. Added to 4 of them. We are down to a medium supply stock. So 2 of them don't have well rested. Well rested. Tide of War points 2 still. It'd be nice if that had dropped off by 1 with home leave, if I'm honest. But, well rested, well rested, well rested. Oh, you can click on this and just see all of them. All well rested. Oh, no, wait, you can see the relevant attributes. Got it. All well rested, though. That's what I wanted to see. Bram. Sometimes you think you're just treading water, but today I feel like I've gained something from all of this. Ooh, is he no longer slow? Oh, I love it. Got rid of the only negative trait we have. Fram, give us a kiss. Con. How was your leave? For me it was quite nice, but I need something to do again. It was somehow too quiet at home. This is a new one. Personal issues. What do you want to know? Family. We are a big family and we are doing well. My father is the greatest role model. I want to make him proud. One day I want people to respect me the way that he is respected. I was supposed to keep living at home for quite a while, yet I had no intention of moving out. I wanted to follow my father's footsteps, apprentice with him, and take over the business someday. Now I'm here all alone. I miss my family very much. Aww. The latrine is filled to the brim. Someone should take care of it before it overflows. I want words with whoever has been here and let the latrine fill to the brim before we even got here. Either that or they've all come back, had one day's worth of rations, and you don't want to know their flipping results. Welcome back, I assume. It won't be much of a welcome, though, will it? How nice of you to join us again. Whilst you were resting, we didn't take a break. I expect your full attention to your duties. There are a few prisoner wards in our camp that need guarding until they can be moved to a prison. Okay. Now we have pretty good prestige. We have a good mood. A good mood. So I attempt to get... I mean, I don't need double rations. Everyone's pretty strong, let's be honest. Next shipment in a couple of days. I'm going to keep on single rations for now. Wait, I have to find him, don't I? Fleckner. Grant to award. Bigger rations. You're going to give him... Oh, he's nervous. From uneasy. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Hopefully the census war will be over soon. Personal issues. Family. I'm a family man and I'll be happy to check in at home in a few months. I have 2 sons and a daughter. It's not good for boys or girls to grow up without their father, but I'll be home soon. I'm worried about my wife too. She has to lead a completely different life now, is integrated into the war society. Nobody asks what that does. Mine. Why did he just become unequal? Interesting. Oh no. Whoops! I'm clicking on random things on the screen. That's not what I was supposed to do. So guard captives. We're gonna go for some tolerant people, but I will not give them good ideas about how to act. Ackerman, that's your job. Yeah, that's right. Hospital's empty, medium supply stock, but we should be getting more supplies in soon. Although, so yeah, I'm not going to ask. I was thinking, you know, with our reputation as it was, maybe get a bit more food, but I think it has. I don't know, but I have a feeling it has more of an effect on different levels of food stock. So I'm not going to take food at this point. It should get topped up potentially this turn. All gone, sighed the man on the other side of the table, taking the last sip of liquor. He was also an underofficer. His group was camped next to ours, and our men often spent their free time together. A rat infestation had destroyed the group's food stash almost completely. I know you have to look out for yourselves too, but he visibly struggled to get the next sentence out. Could you and your group perhaps give us some supplies? Our own camp was adequately filled at the moment, but it was certainly not set up to supply double the amount of men. See what we can spare. I do love doing this. If this was pretty much like the end of the current game, I potentially wouldn't. But you always get payback. Always get payback on this. I've never not had payback. So I always, if I can possibly do it, do that. Infinite relief was written on his face and posture, even though shame was still visibly weighing on him. He thanked me with few words, but notably from the bottom of his heart, and promised to repay me appropriately for this generous act in the future. Several trucks carrying supplies had arrived earlier that afternoon. The soldiers curiously gathered around the motorized vehicles. Trucks were a rare sight here at the front, but we were told that they would now occasionally replace the long-established horse-drawn carts. Cotton was in the process of explaining the exact type of vehicle and its advantages and disadvantages to some of his comrades when Hennick, in his pragmatic manner, ordered the group of soldiers surrounding the trucks to help him unload them. The cargo also caused quite a stir among the men. Boxes full of new steel helmets lay there, matte and grey. When they thought no one was watching, some of my men started pulling them out of the boxes. My mother could make a great soup in something like this, commented lots on the new headgear. Your mother makes soup in these piss pots, Wellinger quipped. Put that back, it's not a toy. Instructed the men. Hennig had his hands full supervising the unloading and then planning the orderly distribution to everyone without my men messing around. When we sat together later that day, we all talked about were the new helmets. Con knew a surprising amount of details about them and contributed to a lively discussion. I really hoped that these new helmets would offer my men better protection than the old Pickelhauben, which were mostly made of felt or leather. Hopefully I didn't butcher that word. Nauseated added, that's fair. Standard rations for 2 turns because I gave some away. Larger rations removed. He's still sick and tired of war. The villagers will disapprove of me going to the pub. The supply is running low. Could become necessary. What else we got? Sometimes you suddenly realize you've actually improved. I feel like I've learned something. Ooh, it needs to become dexterous as well. Oh, I love it. We need a bit more dexterous around us. I think we've got one, which is what? No, we've got one, I'm sure. He just learned it. There you go. Fleckner is dexterous. Nice. So we've got a potential second grenade thrower. Should have been here a while ago. Don't know how long it'll take to get to us. I should be safe. I should be safe. I've still got 2 turns to play with. Next turn, I might have to take action if it hasn't turned up. Now, everyone wants a trip to the pub. I think I'm going to keep Madame LaRoche on side because my guys are doing really well. I think I'm going to keep her on side because she... Oh, look at that shiny new helmet. Because she will help with laundry duty, which will take that off my hands. She will also help with potentially getting a bit of food in the future. So we got a duty-free turn. This is very unusual. Let's abuse that fact. Since returning from home leave, Ackerman was constantly on edge. Everything seemed to be going too slowly for him. Even minor issues upset him, and none of my other men wanted to work with him anymore. When I brought it up during a quiet moment, he threw his hands up in the air. How is anyone supposed to put up with this? Nothing is moving forward, and at home everything goes too terrible. Now my wife is working in the steel mill herself instead of looking after our boy. Have things really come to the point where women are working on the assembly line? We could just get to victory a little bit faster here. Nodded silently. What was I supposed to do? How do you feel about me, Ackerman? Oh, you're nervous about me as well. Interesting. I just nodded silently. What was I supposed to say? I've heard that there are more and more nursery places available. Maybe that would be something for the little one. Your wife knows what she's doing. Many women work in the factories now. He is somewhat patriotic. Very outspoken. He's very courageous, somewhat sociable, somewhat compassionate, very intolerant. So I'm thinking your wife knows what you're doing is not a good one because he's intolerant. I'm going to try the middle one. I tried to appease Ackerman. So the strangers are looking after my boy, he roared. Yeah, that's just what I need. Just coming home and seeing the little rascal sitting on the neighbor's lap is enough to drive me up the wall. The boy needs clear guidance. That's hard enough for women to offer, but strangers? Ackerman shook his head grudgingly. Behind his anger, I could briefly see a flash of despair before he turned away. I see how that's affected him. He's upset, and he is now tired of War 1. That's not good. Idol. Doesn't hate me anymore, though. Did everyone become nervous of me? No, he's got a couple of, simple uneasies. And a couple of nervouses. Interesting. I still haven't looked up that table that I've been threatening about for a very long time. One of my patrols was scheduled to return yesterday, but there's still no sign of them. Send out your own patrol to find them. Where is this food? I have to get some food. It's going to cost me, probably going to hit me down to high prestige. In a specific domain, I'm going to guess in eyeballs. Now, we have most of our people good with eyeballs. I'm going to send on. I'm going to risk a Wellinger. See if I can get him an eyeball. Pick some food. Doesn't really make a difference to anybody. Let's just send Fleckner. As we need more rations. Please make sure we get resupplied as soon as possible. We'll probably get resupplied next turn now that I'm dipping into my prestige stock. Let's hit next turn. Elmer Fram was poring over a loosely stapled stack of papers while the other men played cards or rested. When he noticed me looking at him, he explained proudly. A bit of education, Herr Unteroffizier. I was able to get this preliminary version from my colleague Alfred Adler during my home leave. I asked interested. Hopefully this will make him not nervous of me. A scientific publication, I asked with interest. Yes, despite his military service, my colleague Alfred Adler seems to have found the time to work on this publication. He nodded. It deals with the effect of war on children's upbringing and the role of mothers and fathers in this context. I nodded appreciatively. Encouraged by this, he continued. According to Adler, women often try to live up to their husbands' notions of child rearing, and they continue to do so even in times of war, with the result that the children's upbringing remain strongly influenced by their fathers. It is therefore completely nonsensical that many people now blame these poor women for the degeneration of youth. I wanted to know more, so I sat down next to him. Fram was clearly delighted by my interest in the subject. See if I can make him not nervous. Yes, he is back to being simply uneasy, and yes, I lost a smidge of my prestige. We do now have 4 turns worth of rations. Con, how can I help you? Sunrise, you suddenly realize you have actually improved. Ooh, he's swift as well. I love it. I love it. Is there anything else? We found the missing patrol. One of them got hurt and the other wasn't able to carry him all this distance. Together we managed to get him to the field hospital. Ooh la la. Ooh, and that puts my prestige back up to exceptional. Yeah. Nice. I love getting these extra skills. These are extra skills in your soldiers. Because not only does it really, 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 really push you, you know, keep your soldiers up and active and, should we say, in the game, you know, as opposed to, you know, not, it gives you that more, even more of that sense. If you weren't already unbelievably emotionally attached to them, it gives you even more of that sense to be attached to them, because now you want them to live as long as possible to get as many skills as possible from a gameplay perspective. Resupply came in. Right, so we'll probably switch up to double. You're slacking off. No, I'm not. These villagers are suspect. Okay, so this episode is getting a little bit long, but I don't know when the next battle is supposed to be. What have you got for me? The storehouse is decently full again. Surely raise their spirits. It might just do that. I'll give it a turn. I'll give it a turn. You don't want too many turns worth of food, because then they just throw rats at you. And mold. You know what I mean? Let's patrol the village. Let's go Team Cuddly Bear. You know, make sure we do exactly what Lieutenant von Cartwright wants us to do. Because, you know, he is, of course, head of Team Cuddly Bear. For days now, Ackerman had been sitting next to his comrades every evening without a word and with a vacant stare. He neither joked with them nor did he take part in the usual evening entertainment such as playing cards. His exercise him was also carried out in a dull, listless manner. I spoke to him about it. He is nervous around me. Is everything all right with you, Ackerman? He looked up at me from his empty eyes and he sighed and replied, Herr Unteroffizier, what is all this for? What is the point of us being here? Your comrades need you could work. For the Vaterland need you could work. I'm going to go for comrades. He is somewhat sociable. He is also compassionate. He is intolerant. But I'm going to go for comrades. Try to be strong for them. He straightened his soldiers. Maybe you're right, and I shouldn't let myself go like this. After all, we're all in this mess together, and hopefully we'll also manage to come out of it together. Here. We sat together in silence for a few moments, then Ackerman got up and wished me a good night. The following days he seemed a little less withdrawn. Maybe my words had helped him a bit, or maybe it had just been a matter of time. I was making my way through camp when I encountered 2 failed Gendermen. What the? Military police! My task was to keep useless rabble who like to attach themselves to armies away from the troops and at the same time prevent such rabble from forming from the bad elements of the troops themselves. hurrying one of my men along in front of them. Ackerman looked badly mangled, lots of bruises, a few lacerations. His gaze was downcast and gloomy. What's going on here? I demanded to know from the Genderman. The soldier beat up a comrade from another unit, one of them explained. 1 week's detention, the other added. I turned to Ackerman. Tell me what happened. He spat some blood on the ground and looked at me remorsefully. The bastard knocked Con to the ground, didn't want to apologize, got rude. He slumped his soldiers. I guess I got carried away. Oh, he defended Con? He hates everybody. He got Con to the ground, didn't want to apologize, got rude. So it was worth it. I determined and gave Ackerman an appreciative nod. He seemed surprised and a little bewildered by my words. I'll have a good bottle of wine and cigarettes brought to you so your evenings won't be as lonely. His eyes lit up briefly, then he nodded quickly, gratefully. I stepped aside and the felled Gendermen got themselves and the repentant offender under way again. Okay, so we lost some prestige from that. I don't care. So we're down to high prestige. We're up to an excellent mood, however. He is no longer tired of war. Cha-ching. He is no longer uneasy with me. Cha-ching. He is no longer upset. He is grateful. He's no longer nauseated. That's just worn off from the latrine duty. And we're down to 3 turns of good rations. Now we don't have... Oh, fitness decreases in detention. Depressing increases. Exhausted increases. Well, hopefully that won't happen too much. 2 prisoners of war in camp that need guarding. Now, a bug recently came up and someone said they got from the first home leave to the second home leave without ending up in the trenches or a battle at all. Hopefully I haven't hit the same bug. Because if I have, because I feel like we should have been sent to go and, you know, dig in the mud and shoot some rifles by now. Guard duty. Maybe you can go and guard Ackerman. That would be a funny story. Okay, let's hit next turn. Lotz was engrossed in a newspaper. I looked over his shoulder and saw that he was reading news from the Eastern Front. The author of the article was making fun of the riots and strikes that had broken out in Russia. Russian soldiers, originally deployed against the protests, had defected to the protesters. Weaken the Russians. Yes, yes, he stammered, caught off guard. Lenin, he coughed and then paused. Wanted to know more. Boss looked at me conspiratorially. Lenin no longer wants to campaign for war. He calls the war advocates in the labor movement social chauvinists. He said quietly, then he clutched his trouser pocket, where I suspected photographs of his wife and children to be. I'm not pacifistic, he then assured me. I just find it interesting that in Russia, class division is being reconsidered. I saw hope in his eyes and at the same time knew that I had no revolt to fear from him. So what was the harm in giving him his passion a bit of room? I distributed letters to the soldiers and had mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, mail from home was often the only bright spot in our daily lives. Afterwards, the soldiers would be a little more exuberant, maybe even cheerful. But not every letter brought glad tidings. Thanks to my sensitive duties, I knew that Con's fiancée, for instance, had written that marrying him might not be right for her after all. Between the lines, I had read her fear of becoming a target of anti-Semitism if she stood by Con. Regardless of whether Con would understand it the same way, his engagement was in question. When I saw him an hour after the letters were distributed, he was predictably deep in thought. I offered myself up as a conversational partner. Con looked up at me in surprise. Yes, my fiancé is getting cold feet. I don't understand it. It's all so pointless. He buried his face in his hands. At the end of the day, I am and will always be a Jew. It doesn't matter what I do. I nodded in understanding but remained realistic. Maybe one day we'll live in a world where people don't dwell on religions, nor on skin colors or home countries, but I have a feeling we're still a long way from that day. And until then, I and so many other people will continue to endure this injustice day after day. Con sighed heavily and turned away. I lowered my eyes and suddenly realized how easy it was to block out this injustice when you didn't have to deal with it yourself. Oh, Ackerman is no longer somewhat patriotic. He is also slightly tired of war again. Although, I stopped it from getting worse, so, you know, bad news added, dejected added. He could have ended up on 2 points of dejected. Field laundry can't keep up with demand. Okay, I'm thinking I may have hit a bug because I should have been sent back to the front by now. Now, I believe it has just gone and saved, so we're going to end the episode there. When we come back, we'll see what happens. Maybe a lovely long camp phase. But maybe it'll also reset itself with turning the game off and turning it back on. Who only knows? But for now, like I said, we're going to leave it there because we've already gone well over what I usually like to do for an episode. But obviously, I usually go to the next event, and that simply hasn't happened. And so, until next time, as per always, until I see you again on what I hope is not a bugged gameplay, as it's been an amazing gameplay up until home leave, and it has been truly, truly joyous to play and to get this far. So until that point, I truly do hope that you all can stay safe, happy, and healthy.